American half pounder, 2 pure beef patties, lettuce, tomato.
Singles going steady.
This is Singles Going Steady, the podcast dedicated to exploring great singles with a particular eye to the punk, new wave, and DIY eras of the last century. And I'm Steve McGowan.
I'm Adrienne Madoc. And we're in a band, The Beef People, who released a single in 1986 on our own label, Zub Records. But we are also record collectors and passionate especially about the expression of pop music perfection that
Or
is...
exploration.
And we're exploring that expression,
Yes.
that the single recording. Exploring the mystery of what makes for great singles, what propelled us to begin this podcast.
Whew.
And this podcast is number
4-4.
044. And who are we going steady with?
Okay, now this is tricky, kids. Okay,
This is super tricky.
Need you to follow us. All right, we're going to talk about the British artist Joe Jackson, and we're talking about his record "I'm the Man." Now, it's not a particular single we're going to talk about because this album, "I'm the Man," was released in a format called the 7-inch album. So, hang with me here. There's this little box, a single-size box, and the album had 10 songs on it.
Single size meaning 7 inches.
Right. And the album had 10 songs on it, so there were 5 7-inch records. All right? The tracks 1 through 5 were on the A sides, and tracks 6 through 10 were on the B sides. So they weren't singles like on the DB's six-pack of single, right? It was just the album put on 7-inch records.
The album was also released in traditional 12-inch form.
Yeah, of course.
Right, so that's where they got the running order from in the 12-inch form.
Right.
And they translated that running order to the 7-inch form.
So since this is a show about singles, we're treating this 7-inch album as a EP, an extended play with 10 songs on it.
or simply as a collection of singles released as an album.
Excuse me.
Since, an exception, what makes for an exceptional single, one of those things would be that it's unusual configuration.
Yes.
And you have an album released as a series of in single form.
Right, single format.
And there were singles released from this album that
Right.
were not in the same running order as
Right.
in the album format.
Right. So we're really getting off the plot here, but we're going to discuss 2 of the songs on "I'm the Man," and there was one that was a chart hit for him in the UK. Joe Jackson was he came up with kind of the new wave British sound. He was there with Elvis Costello and Graham Parker, bands like that. He wasn't considered
the singer-songwriter.
Yeah. Wasn't considered a punk artist, more of a, as they called it, new wave. He was actually trained. He had training on the piano. He worked in cabarets for years. He was a real musician, as he would prove later when he would do some of his piano records. This band is a 3-piece band, bass, drums, and guitar, and Joe singing. Joe plays melodica sometimes and a little piano, but on these tracks we're going to listen to, all he does is sing.
So here's somebody who's a remarkable keyboard artist.
Yes.
Who basically is a frontman.
Right, not playing keyboards.
Not playing keyboards or even,
Right.
the mouth keyboards.
Right.
The melodica.
The melodica.
But is a frontman who was also primary songwriter.
Yep.
But you've got that sort of great height of rock and roll, the trio, that super tight trio,
Right.
with the singer in front.
Very much so. So this first song we're going to listen to is kind of, I think it's kind of in like an Elvis Costello Allison mode.
Right. It's that morose blue, not blues, but blue.
Love, lament.
Yeah.
And it's called It's Different for Girls. This was on the 7-inch record, 7-inch album, Joe Jackson, I'm the Man, from 1979 on A&M Records.
And it starts in one direction and it goes in an entirely different one.
All right, here we go. It's Different for Girls.
What the hell is wrong with you tonight? I can't seem to say or do the right thing. Wanted to be sure you're feeling right. Wanted to be sure we want the same thing. She said, I can't believe it. You can't possibly mean it. Don't we all want the same thing? Don't we? Well, he said anything about love. No, no, she said. Don't you know that it's different for girls? No, no, she said. Don't you know that it's different for girls? You're all the same. Mama always told me, save yourself. Take a little time and find the right girl. Then again, don't end up on the shelf. Logical advice gets you in a whirl. I know a lot of things that you don't. You wanna hear some? She said, just give me something, anything. Well, give me all you got, but not love. No, no, she said. Don't you know that it's different for girls? No, no, she said. Don't you know that it's different for girls? You're all the same. 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 Who said anything about love? No, no, she said. Don't you know that it's different for girls? No, no, she said. Don't you know that it's different for girls? Oh, give it. No, 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 she said. Don't you know that it's different for girls? No, 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 she said. Don't you know that it's different for girls? You're all the same. You're all the same.
The thing that was so startling about the song lyrically is how it takes that sort of old saw of
Right.
of dudes being only interested in one thing, and you
That
know,
would be football, right?
right.
Yeah.
Well, evidently it was football
Yes.
because here it's the girls that are only interested in
The one thing.
in the one thing, and it's a very interesting take, and you know certainly gets you thinking, you know that you know. It was very clever
Right.
on his part to
Turned it on its head.
To turn it on its head, and certainly I think that makes us all sort of like, you know, don't we all want the same thing?
Right.
And Joe asks that musical question, and I guess leaves us hanging.
Yes. I love the little ascending guitar part in this, and the bass player Graham Maybe is just amazing.
Okay, Graham maybe my favorite. Certainly. I mean,
He's in the pantheon up there, right?
absolutely. I would go see him in a polka band.
Right.
And I don't think he's classically trained.
No.
Or I mean, I think he's mainly self-taught.
Yeah.
And I think that explains a lot. What a craftsman.
Yeah.
But his inventiveness.
Yeah.
It's not, his playing is not hackneyed. It's
No.
not like anybody else's. You recognize his playing. And he's played with a number of artists.
Including They Might Be Giants.
Yeah, and he was a member of They
Yes.
Might Be Giants during John Henry and
Right.
a few albums running after that.
He's very tasteful.
He's tasteful,
yeah.
and he's not showy. He's fluid and animated. But what he does is very non-obvious, and lilting and lyrical.
Yeah, because both of these records are really about the rhythm section.
Yeah,
The voice, the rhythm section. The guitar is there, but it's not way up front. It's not like a punk sounding record. It's got charisma. You know?
It does. But, you were talking about it being lead bass, but to me, he never forgets that the bass is there to keep your feet moving. He
Yeah.
doesn't abandon,
Yeah,
to
the
me,
beat.
what is job one of a bass player is that, you're part of the rhythm section.
Yes.
You are, remember your place. You're not there to be, you're not Eddie Van Halen. You're not
Right,
there to
right.
just show how fast you can play or
Right.
clever licks.
Right.
You're there to keep everyone's butts wiggling. And he certainly does that.
Now, I have never seen Joe Jackson play live, unfortunately.
Dream for a treat.
So luckily, Adrian and I are going to see him in February.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
February 2019.
He's coming out sort of for 40 years
Yeah.
of celebration.
Right.
And he continues to make really good,
Yes.
really fine records. And I've been lucky enough to see him twice. I saw
Okay.
him open for Todd Rundgren.
Wow.
And it was solo. So he was playing keyboards, piano, as well as keyboards. And sort of spanned his career, of course, lighter on the first two albums.
Right.
And then saw him, it was only last year when he came through Durham, and
Okay.
he played, Graham Maybe was with him, and
Nice.
and an astounding drummer, and just one of the finest shows I've ever been to.
Wow. That's saying a lot.
Yeah, well, Graham Maybe was there, so
Yeah.
you knew it had
There
to
you
be
go.
open.
Yeah.
But yeah, just masterful. He's just someone at the top of his game.
Now, what was that story you were telling me about France?
Oh yeah, sadly, I never saw Joe Jackson play in the 80s.
Right.
But a friend of mine, Steve Mahaley, was spending his semester in France, and he was lucky enough to see Joe Jackson on the Night and Day tour
Wow.
in France.
Nice.
And kindly sent me the ticket stub, which was this glorious 3x4 beautiful print. From the cover of Night and Day, the Hirschfeld style
the line drawing.
in blue, white, black. I mean, it was beautiful. I still have it.
Wow.
So thank you for that, Mahaley. It's a cherished
Yes,
possession. And
yes.
why don't we have beautiful tickets?
I know. The French are so classy, aren't they?
They are. They are.
All right. Well, anyway.
Where their tickets are classy.
You were talking about
wine.
we were talking a little bit about his records after this. And,
Joe Jackson's.
And he did that record that you just mentioned, Night and
Night and
Day,
Day.
which is a beautiful, has Steppin' Out on it, and
Yeah.
beautiful kind of piano jazzy record.
Right.
And he did the record before that was
And he-
Joe Jackson's Jumpin' Jive.
Which was a tribute.
A big band record.
It was almost an educational record.
Yeah.
I mean, it certainly was an education
Yeah.
for me.
Cab Calloway and things like that.
Yeah. And I was reminding you
Yes.
of how I goaded you into a little dereliction of duty. You had a job
Yes, I did.
as a AM radio disc jockey.
Professional disc jockey. I was
Right.
paid to be on the radio.
Right. And as a paying pro gig, you did not select your tracks. You
No.
had to.
Right. It was a strict playlist.
Yep. So you were bound to the strict playlist, except when a certain imp came to town
Yes.
with the jumping jive.
Yes.
And I said, "Come on, you can surely slip one of these in there. What harm is it going to do?"
Yes.
And I think we may have done a similar. You may have been goaded into sliding something else in.
Yeah, I think we played My Funny Valentine.
Oh yeah, that
Yeah,
was it.
uh-huh.
That was it. The Costello My Funny Valentine.
I say we, well, I mean me. Yeah. But that was at WMRB, the music of your life.
Music of your life.
And that was a great job, AM station, and they used to carry the Braves games. That's the thing I remember the most about it. And when the Braves were playing a doubleheader in San Francisco or wherever, I'd have to stay until like 4 a.m.
You might still be on the air.
Till extra
right?
innings, and if you ever closed down early, there would be angry calls in the morning from drunk pensioners. I lost my box score. It's like, wow. So the Braves are a big thing in Greenville, South Carolina, unfortunately. Anyway, we are digressing hard here. Let's get back to Joe Jackson.
Hey, it is all in service of the singles going steady.
That's right. Joe Jackson's 7-inch record, I'm the Man. We are going to play the title cut now. It's called I'm the Man, and it's a little bit angrier and revved up and punkier, and it's awesome. Here we go. Joe Jackson, I'm the Man.
Pretty soon now, I'm gonna make a comeback. And like the vibes and the bees in the trees, it's a sure fast slang. I'll speak
All right, I'm the man. On the cover of the record, Joe Jackson is dressed as what they call in Britain a spiv. He's got the tiny little pencil mustache and the pork pie hat, and he's holding his coat open, and he's got all these watches and jewelry. And he says a spiv is a guy that's, always trying to sell you like a watch at a very discounted price. One of those kind of guys,
Do we
hey,
have an equivalent here?
Have a look at this then. Do you want some of this? A little bit of this, a little bit of that. And he says that what they were doing those first two records was spiv rock. So there he had his own title for it. And this song deals with the spiv guy who can sell you anything. I love that he mentions the hula hoop, the yo-yo, kung fu. That was one of my good ones. Skateboards, safety pins, pork pie hats. He can sell you anything.
Yeah, and I don't think we really have an equivalent of a spiv,
Yeah.
but we, as a category, as a well-known sort of, character in American life. But we certainly all know people that are always on the make, always, always
Doing
trying
the side hustle.
side hustle, right?
Yeah. Or the guy that, it fell off a truck.
Right.
Yeah.
That's pretty upscale for working class folks,
Yes,
across the ocean. So fell off a pickup truck, I guess.
Yeah, this is a pretty powerful song. It verges on punk, although it's too clever to be a punk song. And again,
There are clever punk songs, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like a garden variety.
It's not a oi 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 oi.
Yeah.
It's got just the 3-piece band, just bass, drums, and guitar, and the guitar is not really featured. It's all bass in this one.
Yeah.
He's mixed up high, and he's holding it together, and the drums are just killing it.
And he's not forgetting
Mm-hmm.
his the prime directive to
Right.
keep the butts wiggling.
Yes. Uh-huh. So Joe Jackson, the first two records, Look Sharp and I'm the Man, are essential records
Yes.
in the Zub catalog here, and our own little bookshelf full of records.
The SGS
Yes,
Wikipedia.
yes, indeed. So, can you hear anybody covering this?
Ooh. Who has that energy?
Well, I would like to hear the first song. It's different for girls. I'd like to hear Graham Parker do that.
Oh, yeah.
I think
Okay.
that would be interesting because he gets compared to Graham Parker, but they're different animals.
Yeah, yeah.
As far as I'm the Man, I'm not sure because I know that I know Anthrax did Got the Time,
yeah.
so maybe we'll just
It's sort of a time and place. Not that it's not, not that it couldn't still
Right.
stand on its own, but
right. So, do you have a recommendation?
my recommendation would be don't sleep on your favorite older artists.
Yes,
Joe Jackson's still out there. He's still releasing new music. He's
Yeah.
still,
he's put out like 20 records, and
Yeah,
almost every one of them is quite interesting and good.
and there's something to like and love on all of them.
Right.
And he's lyrically so interesting and sophisticated. I guess and musically too.
Yes.
Sort of as a person, he's kind of prickly.
Yes.
I mean, he's a smoking advocate.
Right,
sort of,
right.
Like a pro
smoker.
Right. We should have brought him up in the last one about Winston-Salem and,
Yeah.
and R.J. Reynolds. But
he's
he's
against the nanny state apparently. So.
Right, so that's certainly not the usual stance that you see. But,
Yes. Mhm.
so he's not afraid of who he is and what he
No.
is. And there's a lot to be said for that. So look for your favorite artists who are still getting it done.
Yeah, you could compare him a little bit to Costello.
Yeah, yeah.
All over the map musically, still putting out records, still vital. And there's a lot of artists that are like Nick Lowe or,
Yeah,
I mean, anybody who's still doing it is probably doing it better than they used to.
Right.
I just saw X recently, and they're still killer. They're still vital, and they still got it. And we're going to see Joe Jackson, and he has a new record coming out, and I can't wait to hear it.
And we both saw Squeeze last year,
Yeah.
and Squeeze was just tremendous.
Yes, and they were not an oldies act.
Yeah, these aren't oldies acts. They're not simply, treading the boards, raising money for PBS. Well,
Right.
bless them.
Yeah.
If you can still get it done, if you
Right.
still got your song from 1965, that you can come out and sing and do it justice. More power to you in a
Right.
review, but this is not this is not a museum.
Right.
This is not
Right.
a reenactment. This is vital and living and changing and growing.
So that was our episode 044. Joe Jackson, I'm the Man, the 7-inch album. We played 2 songs from it. We love Joe Jackson. And we are going to talk to you soon.
We will.
Bye now.
Bye. To learn more about the artists and recordings we just talked about, visit our website at zubrecords.com and click on the Singles Going Steady icon.
You'll also find links to the persons, places, and things we recommend, and much more.
You can find episodes of Singles Going Steady on our website or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
Singles Going Steady is brought to you by the power and majesty of Zub Records.
Zub Records. Smart sounds for sharp people.
Today